if fake news that's being released by some foreign government is almost identical to reports that are being issued through partisan news venues, then it's not surprising that that foreign propaganda will have a greater effect, because it doesn't seem that far-fetched. Compared to some of the other stuff that folks are hearing from domestic propagandists. To the extent that our political dialogue is such where everything is under suspicion. Everybody is corrupt and everybody is doing things for partisan reasons, and all of our institutions are full of malevolent actors if that's the storyline that's being put out there by whatever party is out of power. Then when a foreign government introduces that same argument with facts that are made up, voters who have been listening to that stuff for years who have been getting that stuff every day from talk radio or other venues, they're going to believe it. So if we want to really reduce foreign influence on our elections, then we better think about how to make sure that our political process, our political dialogue is stronger than it's been. Mark Landler. Question, thank you, Mr. President. I wonder whether I can move you from Russia to China for a moment. President Obama, absolutely. Question, your successor spoke by phone with the president of Taiwan the other day and declared. Subsequently that he wasn't sure why the United States needed to be bound by the One China policy. He suggested it could be used as a bargaining chip perhaps to get better terms on a trade deal or more cooperation on North Korea. there's already evidence that tensions between the two sides have increased a bit. And just today, the Chinese have evidently seized an underwater drone in the South China Sea. Do you agree, as some do, that our China policy could use a fresh set of eyes? And what's the big deal about having a short phone call with the president of Taiwan? Or do you worry that these types of unorthodox approaches are setting us on a collision course with perhaps our biggest geopolitical adversary? President Obama, that's a great question. I'm somewhere in between. I think all of our foreign policy should be subject to fresh eyes. I think I've said this before, I am very proud of the work I've done. I think I'm a better president now than when I started. But if you're here for 8 years, in the bubble, you start seeing things a certain way. And you benefit from the democracy benefits, America benefits from some new perspectives. And I think it should be not just the prerogative but the obligation of a new president. To examine everything that's been done and see what makes sense and what doesn't. That's what I did when I came in, and I'm assuming any new president is going to undertake those same exercises. And given the importance of the relationship between the United States and China, given how much is at stake in terms of the world economy, national security, our presence in the Asia-Pacific, China's increasing role in international affairs, there's probably no bilateral relationship that carries more significance, and where there's also the potential, if that relationship breaks down or goes into a full conflict mode, that everybody is worse off. So I think it's fine for him to take a look at it. What I've advised the president-elect is that across the board on foreign policy, you want to make sure that you're doing it in a systematic, deliberate, intentional way. And since there's only one president at a time, my advice to him has been that before he starts having a lot of interactions with foreign governments other than the usual courtesy calls, that he should want to have his full team in place. That he should want his team to be fully briefed on what's gone on in the past and where the potential pitfalls may be. Where the opportunities are, what we've learned from 8 years of experience. So that as he's then maybe taking foreign policy in a new direction, he's got all the information to make good decisions and by the way, that all of government is moving at the same time and singing from the same hymnal. And with respect to China, and let's just take the example of Taiwan, there has been a long-standing agreement. Essentially, between China, the United States, and, to some degree, the Taiwanese, which is to not change the status quo. Taiwan operates differently than mainland China does. China views Taiwan as part of China. But recognizes that it has to approach Taiwan as an entity that has its own ways of doing things. The Taiwanese have agreed that as long as they're able to continue to function with some degree of autonomy, that they won't charge forward and declare independence. And that status quo, although not completely satisfactory to any of the parties involved, has kept the peace and allowed the Taiwanese to be a pretty successful economy and a people who have a high degree of self-determination. But understand, for China, the issue of Taiwan is as important as anything on their docket. The idea of one China is at the heart of their conception as a nation. And so if you are going to upend this understanding, you have to have thought through what the consequences are. Because the Chinese will not treat that the way they'll treat some other issues. They won't even treat it the way they treat issues around the South China Sea, where we've had a lot of tensions. This goes to the core of how they see themselves. And their reaction on this issue could end up being very significant. That doesn't mean that you have to adhere to everything that's been done in the past. It does mean that you've got to think it through and have planned for potential reactions that they may engage in. All right. Isaac Dover of Politico. Question, thank you, Mr. President. 2 questions on where this all leaves us. President Obama, what leaves us? Where my presidency leaves us? Question, the election. President Obama, it leaves us in a really good spot if we make some good decisions going forward. Question, well, what do you say to the electors who are going to meet on Monday and are thinking of changing their votes? Do you think that they should be given an intelligence briefing about the Russian activity? Or should they bear in mind everything you've said and is out already? Should votes be bound by the state votes as they've gone? And long term, do you think that there is a need for electoral college reform that would tie it to the popular vote? President Obama, it sounded like two, but that was all one. Question, it was all one. President Obama, I love how these I got two questions, each one has four parts. Question, on the Democratic Party. Your labor secretary is running to be the chair of the Democratic National Committee. Is the vision that you've seen him putting forward what you think the party needs to be focused on? And what do you say to some of the complaints that say the future of the Democratic Party shouldn't be a continuation of some of your political approach? Part of that is complaints that decisions that you've made as president, as the leader of the party, have structurally weakened the DNC and the Democratic Party. And they think that that has led to or has helped lead to some losses in elections around the country. Do you regret any of those decisions? President Obama, okay. Question, those are my two. President Obama, good. I'll take the second one first and say that Tom Perez has been, I believe, one of the best secretaries of labor in our history. He is tireless. He is wicked smart. He has been able to work across the spectrum of labor. Business, activists. He's produced. I mean, if you look at his body of work on behalf of working people. What he's pushed for in terms of making sure that workers get a fair deal, Decent wages. Better benefits, that their safety is protected on the job. He has been extraordinary. Now, others who have declared are also my friends and are fine people, as well. And the great thing is, I don't have a vote in this, so we'll let the process unfold. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. I described to you earlier what I think needs to happen, which is that the Democratic Party whether that's entirely through the DNC or through a rebuilding of state parties or some other arrangement, has to work at the grassroots level, has to be present in all 50 states. Has to have a presence in counties, has to think about message and how are we speaking directly to voters. I will say this, and I'm not going to engage in too much punditry, but that I could not be prouder of the coalition that I put together in each of my campaigns because it was inclusive. And it drew in people who normally weren't interested in politics and didn't participate. But I'd like to think I can show that in those elections, I always cast a broad net. I always said, first and foremost we're Americans, that we have a common creed. That there's more that we share than divides us, and I want to talk to everybody and get a chance to get everybody's vote. I still believe what I said in 2004, which is this red state/blue thing is a construct. Now, it is a construct that has gotten more and more powerful for a whole lot of reasons. From gerrymandering to big money, to the way that media has splintered. And so people are just watching what reinforces their existing. biases as opposed to have to listen to different points of view. So there are all kinds of reasons for it.